Pluto has entered Aquarius for good, and now it will stay there for little less than 20 years. I wrote a series of posts on Instagram about what it means for us in general, like for the society in general. I will link those posts in the description to the video. But long story short, for the society in general, Pluto is usually either bad news or no news. But on a personal level, if Pluto affects you personally, that's a completely different thing. This hard, strong aspect, it lasts usually around 1.5 to 2 years. It may start as bad news, but it has a lot of potential. And in people I know, after they emerge from this Plutonian initiation, they're usually much better people. They are more truthful to themselves. They have more power. They have more life force. They are more to the point, and they're also weirdly more compassionate, but compassionate is in this Plutonic way. I am Nadia, the astrologer for people who do not believe in astrology, but who enjoy it and who also enjoy using astrological language to make sense of their own lives. Today we are talking about how to deal with a hard aspect from Pluto. So what it is when the planet Pluto is making a conjunction or a square or an opposition to one of your personal planets or to the ascendant. How do you know if this is happening to you? Now that Pluto is firmly in the beginning of the Aquarius, it's actually very easy to say. If you know your natal chart, look for the placements of Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars, or the ascendant. And if any one of those planets or points is anywhere between 0 and 5 degrees of any of the fixed signs, that is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, then you are experiencing a hard aspect from Pluto. And it will be active for 1 or 2 or 3 years. 3 years if it is closer to 5 degrees, whatever you're having there. If you don't know your natal chart, not the end of the world, you can, as a first step, at least find out if your sun is getting a hard aspect from Pluto. And it is if you are a fixed sign, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and you were born anywhere between the 20th and let's say the 26th of whatever month you were born in. Then your sun will be approximately in the beginning of your sign, and then the hard aspect from Pluto will get to your sun. And the sun is responsible for your biography, for your narrative. And so if Pluto is making a hard aspect to your sun, it means that it will bring some events into your life that will be critical turning points in the story of your life. So it must be something that is very hard to miss. So who is this Pluto person? Mythologically, Pluto rules the underworld. He's the lord of the underworld, and the underworld is the place where the dead people have to go. Pluto separates the living from the non-living. In astrology, it also rules over the things and ideas that we store in our psychological basement, away from view. As someone who has a basement, an actual basement now, I can fully attest to the fact that when something is put into the basement, it is completely erased from consciousness. I know that I have things in the basement. I just don't know which things they are. And I also don't want to go to the basement, because if I go there, then I will see what I have there. And then I will have to think of those things. And not thinking about those things that I put there is actually the way I want to keep it. This is also how the normal psyche works. Ideally, if you want to be functional, then the things that we are not ready to deal with on a daily basis or at all go straight into this psychological basement. And upstairs in our psychological apartments, we maintain this carefully curated display of a decent life. And to do this, we use some kind of like naive ideas that make life easier, more manageable, and that help us maintain relative naivety about things that are there, things that we are not looking at. One of those ideas can be summarized as, I'm a good person and good things happen to good people. And when I say it like this, it sounds very narrow, which it's not supposed to be. So I will expand it with some examples. So, for example, for some people, an absolutely amazing quality to have may be the ability to play the game. So, keeping the powerful people your allies, bending the rules when it's easy to get away with it, maintaining circle of useful acquaintances, doing something for them, they do something for you. And such people, in their world, this is the good thing, this is the good quality. And they would also respect the other person who knows how to do it skillfully. And in their world, good things must happen to them if they can do this good thing. And the good things would be they get rich, they are able to solve some problems easier than some other people, those simpletons. Or they get more powerful, and with more power comes more attractiveness, which they also value. Another example, completely unrelated. Some other people may value loyalty to the family, and they are loyal to the family, and what they absolutely expect to get in return is the loyalty of the family to them and sense of belonging and I don't know, hominess, something like that. And those ideas are not stupid. There is some truth to them sometimes, maybe many times, and they have some heuristic potential. They're sometimes useful to lean on, but they are based on the idea of fairness, and life is sometimes not fair, and sometimes it's very not fair, ridiculously not fair. And those ideas are too linear and too limited, and in this way they are naive, and Pluto is supposed to be allergic to such ideas. And so when you receive a hard aspect from Pluto, it is supposed to try to rid you of those naive ideas. Another naive idea that also belongs to this family is that it is possible to be shielded from the dirty and ugly sides of life and still live a life that is important and meaningful. It is sometimes possible, but during a hard Pluto transit, this idea may not be very constructive and may not be tenable. So Pluto hates naive ideas, complacency, hypocrisy, primness, and also people who think they have it all figured out. If it smells any of that on you, it is supposed to create circumstances in which maintaining anything from this list is impossible. Or it is maybe possible, but only if you give up and end up as a loser, and somebody else who is not holding on to those things as hard as you do then has power over you. So what are my recommendations for people who are experiencing a hard aspect from Pluto? What are they supposed to do now? What can they benefit from? Number one, do not invent a crisis where it doesn't already exist. This is an important one because as an astrologer who specifically works with people who do not believe in astrology, the last thing I want to do is for people to look for problems where they don't exist. So I will explain it like that. If Pluto has a problem with you, it's a punch in the gut. It is impossible to miss. So if you are at the moment not being punched in the gut, then direct your attention to the areas of your life that may benefit from this attention. Earn some money, do some sport, spend time with people you love, whatever. Invest in a hobby. Thing number 2. Now we're coming closer to the more Plutonian topics. So if you are presented with a choice where every option you have is a bad option, that is a Pluto situation. If you are dealing with such a situation, you may experience a loss. What are you losing? You are losing the idea that you may have gone through life without tainting your biography with such unattractive life choices. It can be something benign. So, for example, a lot of people get married sincerely thinking that they would spend their whole lives with their chosen person. And they may feel that if they invest in a relationship, if they sacrifice some things for the relationship, if they work on the relationship, they will, as a result, have a good relationship. Fair. Except life is not always fair. And during such a Plutonic transit, Pluto may demonstrate to them and make it obvious how far from happy they are in a very unfair way. And the reason why I'm saying that this is a benign situation is that in this situation, it's not impossible that both partners can end up living happy, fulfilled lives after the breakup, or they may have a crisis and see that, yes, we're not happy and work on the relationship and then have a better relationship, whatever. But this moment of facing the truth about how unfair the situation is and how you were expecting fairness, but it's not there, this is a Plutonic moment. Or it can also be something absolutely not benign, something brutal and truly tragic. And of course, when the times are more vegetarian, such truly tragic things happen less often. The downside of this is that in such vegetarian times, those truly terrible, brutal situations, they carry more social stigma with them. So what I'm doing here is I'm a little bit conflating the situations that people perceive as I have a choice, do I leave the relationship or stay in the relationship, or like discover that there are some problems in the relationship or make it seem like nothing bad is going on, and situations where there is loss and tragedy and suffering. But I'm doing it intentionally because even in this loss situation, there is a choice. And the choice is I can allow it to break me and I can shut down, or I can choose to live. And this last one seems like a no-brainer. Of course, you're supposed to choose to live. But in some cases, in some situations, at least for a while, this choice to continue living may seem like a terrible choice that is kind of like just as terrible as shutting down. So this is a Plutonic thing. Another thing that people may benefit from during a hard transit from Pluto, a hard aspect from Pluto. Ask yourself, is getting what you want only possible if you get your hands dirty? So how it works is like this. Sometimes it is possible to get through life and get some good things and enjoy life while at the same time being virtuous and generous and a kind person and honest and basically holding the high moral ground. But sometimes if you maintain this high moral ground, you cannot get what you really want. And to this you may say, well, duh, you don't always get what you want. It's just how it is. It is true. But at the same time, if we don't get what we want often and intensely and over again, we tend to turn resentful and hateful and jealous of people who do get what they want. And we vilify the other people. And then we turn into very unpleasant people who poison everything around them. And this we do not want to become either. So sometimes getting what you really want requires becoming somewhat of a bad person. And if this is your situation and you have identified it as such, then you will have to think, how much of a bad person can I allow myself to become? This is a difficult topic, and I cannot really offer any guidance here because I'm afraid that it may be misunderstood or taken too far. This is your life. These are your morals. Go do what you can do with it. Thing number 3 you may benefit from during a hard transit from Pluto. Doubt what you know and what you think, but be certain in your will to survive and thrive. Now, yes, Pluto may throw some things at you that may prove some of the things you believed false. It happens. But Pluto respects certain things, and one of those things is this will to survive and thrive. And sometimes life events hurt and damage us so much that we lose this will to survive and thrive. And it doesn't mean that we become suicidal. Most often we give up, we wither, we languish, we become less visible, we stop leaving traces, etc. And in the Pluto universe, one of the most important currencies is the life force. If you have life force, then Pluto, as the lord of the underworld and the dead, cannot have you. It is a part of this like psychological trick when you want to choose something and you think, which one of those things makes me more alive? Something like that. It's also useful in some more dramatic situations like a conflict. So if you have a real confrontation with someone, ask yourself that. Is this a contest in who is more moral? Do I choose to interpret this as a contest in morality? Or is this a contest on who is going to come out of it with more life force? And yes, in some situations, playing dead, that is making it seem like you are not there or not worthy of attention or not a threat, is a viable survival strategy. Very suitable for some like real dangerous situations. But in most other cases, the winning strategy is actually being visibly and unmistakably alive. Number 5 in the list of things you may benefit from during a hard aspect from Pluto is think about how much power you have and over whom. So the questions you may ask yourself is, for example, when do I have the power to exert my will over other people? Or which decisions am I empowered to make on my own for myself? Or where am I so dependent on others that they have the power over me? Power, dominance, and control are Plutonian topics. So if you are dealing with those topics, the trick is to first be honest to yourself about this. And the other trick is to actually use the power that you have, or to claim it. If you want to change the power dynamics in your life during this transit, it's often possible. Like I said, a hard Pluto transit lasts anywhere from like 1 or 2 to 3 years. And that's a lot of time. You can do many things in a couple of years. But you cannot do it unless you actually see reality for what it is. And you realistically can say, yes, here I have the power, but here I don't really have the power. And also this topic of power is sometimes connected to being bad. And then you have the choice. Either you are bad or bad, and you can claim the power, or you choose to be good, and then someone else will have the power over you and will dominate you and will control you. And sometimes this is the safest thing to do, but most of the times, if you can afford it, during this transit, it's generally advisable to try to claim the power. Thing number 6 that you may benefit from during this transit is that topics of life and death and rebirth may require your attention, and if they come up, give them this attention. This is a really good time to confront yourself with the idea of your own mortality, for example, or the mortality of people around you. And also with the idea that even after something or someone is lost, life goes on. It is sometimes also kind of like not that easy to accept. Now, a bonus thing to think about is that what if your enemies are experiencing a hard aspect from Pluto? They're also people. They can also have something in those sensitive degrees of fixed signs. So a hard aspect from Pluto is not a punishment. It's more of an initiation. So yes, if your enemies are going through a hard aspect from Pluto, they may emerge from it more powerful, with more will to live, with more life force, with more will to get their hands dirty, and basically more alive. I hope that this information will motivate you to treat your own Pluto transit with, just go through it more productively, get more out of it. And all in all, a person who has gone through a Pluto transit and who did it well has done a lot of shadow work and has been initiated into the deeper mysteries of life by doing this shadow work. And if it's not always happening, but if this experience was connected with loss and suffering, you may see it as a sort of a descent into the underworld, which killed off the old and naive you and the very limited you, and after which your will to live lifted you up into the surface, and you appeared there reborn and initiated. So if you have to remember one thing from this video, it is that Pluto is not a villain, he's not a devil, he is impartial, and one of his functions is that it separates living from the non-living. Not good from bad, not right from wrong. Living, not living. And in his presence, your will to belong to the living and to make use of the time you have left belonging to this group should increase and become more powerful. And that is the present that you can actually get from this, not very delicate and sometimes a difficult transit that acts as initiation, and initiation is not supposed to be very delicate. This is it about Pluto on a personal level, but in general, I will try to come up with some way of giving more recommendations to people whose sun it is aspecting, or whose Venus or moon it is aspecting. I haven't decided on the format. Maybe like a PDF or something, whatever. I will do it, just not immediately, but we have the time because Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for a very long time. Well, thank you for listening. It would really please me if you like this video and subscribe to my channel and share the video with other people who may find it interesting. And this will stimulate me to make more of those videos. Speaking of which, I still have to shoot the videos about how different signs change as they age and mature. And another video I promised to people is which brand of personal philosophy is helping each sign of Jupiter maintain optimism. So I'm not sure which one I will record first, but yeah, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.